Hello there guys, it's Metro and we're back, this time checking out the Shrine of the Storm dungeon, another new one on the Battle for Azeroth, newest alpha build that came out on April 19th, and this will be the fourth and final new one that we check out. This one I actually checked out on live stream, so you might have seen it, but it is actually a very worthwhile video topic. Once again, thinking about Mythic Plus here in general, and we are definitely we're having a lot to talk about because man, what are these, this little yellow mobs all over the place? I don't know how to feel about that. And, you know, it depends obviously on the affixes. I think, you know, things like bolstering, most people know that yellow mobs don't actually bolster red mobs, but red mobs could bolster yellow mobs, etc. That is something to consider here, man. I don't know. I don't know how this is going to go. I'm not sure what they're considering for trash affixes, but there is a lot of trash. There's a lot of mobs in some of these areas. There's basically two main types of fodder in this dungeon. One of them is those little yellow blobs, which die very quickly, and another one is an initiate type mob we'll talk about later. But immediately out of the gate, we have to discuss something here. So this mob I just mistakenly gripped into this other pack. I made a big mistake here. I think what's that, the Templar? I don't know, it's like a paladin looking guy, Shrine Templar, yeah, that's the one, which is ironic. Shrine Templar. Anyway, you're going to see two dispellable buffs. So basically, these first packs here, they contain healers and a guy who puts up a 50% damage reduction to everything else. Okay, so we're going to see a trend in this dungeon here today, and this is going to be it. A lot of trash to try to slow you down, to try to go really, really, really slow through this dungeon. And, you know, you're going to have to execute these mechanics. Frankly, it makes me think a lot about Atal Dazar, the original iteration of it that we made a video on, where there was all of this crazy trash with these crazy mechanics, lots of things that prevented you from doing your full DPS, lots of things that prevented interrupts, knockbacks, stuns, etc. And then you got this big water elemental mob constantly lifting you up in the air and then bringing you back down. Frankly, it's a little frustrating, and all I have to say is that's probably a good thing for the dungeons, because I think this really does, you know, if you want to elongate the lifespan of trash, what better way than to leave a single mob with a 50% damage reduction or around him? That's going to do something to the Mythic Plus times, guys. I hate to tell you that. You're not just going to be able to go, you know, big dick mode like I'm doing right here, gripping it all together and going full AoE. You're not really going to be able to do that when you're constantly getting jumped, you know, knocked into the air and stuck in a bubble like you might be. And then, you know, there's going to be healers. I mean, look at, just try to pay attention to the debuffs on these trash mobs. There's a lot of stuff preventing us from killing this trash quickly. So if there was one thing to say about this dungeon, outside of I think it's really cool, the trash is really a real pain in the ass. And not only in, you know, in a way that could require a lot of coordination, but also in a way that can kind of just, you're just not going to be able to brute force it, you know? You can't really do what I'm doing right now, and this is only on normal. Like, look how long it's taking us to kill this trash. That's because some of the mobs are healing it, some of the mobs are doing, I don't know what that is, that it's dispellable currently, I'm not even sure. But, and then this Shrine Templar here is putting up a massive damage reduction to everything around him. So, you know, the way it's going to go, we're going to go in, we're going to have to kill that thing first. I'm going to have to mark a skull on that thing, and then everything else will start dying after that. But we're going to have to make sure we have multiple dispels, because the healers, you know, these mobs around here are healing. We can dispel it, but we could also interrupt it. I didn't notice that. I'm struggling to get a bit used to Plater, because the way the interrupt thing is, it lies a bit weird on the alpha. It's not how I have it on Legion, and it doesn't seem to want to change. But anyway, so more bunch of yellow mobs here. I really don't know what to think about these little blobs. I don't know what the purpose of them are in the dungeon. All I can think of is Blizzard has some kind of purpose for them in the game for Mythic Plus. You know, that's the only thing I can think of. Like, why else put mobs that easy to kill? And, you know, it's kind of just like the Eye of Azshara, if you know those yellow mobs right out front of the first boss. Now, this is a really fairly interesting mechanic, very interesting boss that is, because this is the boss that was designed live at BlizzCon. If you guys watched that panel, it was actually really cool. And they designed it live at BlizzCon. It was going to be a regular water elemental at first, and they talked about kind of making it better than your typical water elemental. It started looking like a Mercius at first, and now it looks very unique. It's got the tentacles built into the water elemental element, and that is really cool. I think it's a really interesting fight. I don't necessarily, again, know what's happening on it, but I know at one point he splits into 3 right there. See, that's the time. And we're just going to go put some dots on all 3 of them. It does look like if nobody's in melee range, it casts some type of ability. It puts up a debuff on us right there. All 3 of us have it. It says if you dispel it, it goes to somebody else, but I don't really know what the purpose is. I don't know. It doesn't really seem relevant, so I don't know. Very, the bosses are just so quick and so easy. And this is frankly not the best damaging group I've ever been in. This is the same guys from the previous dungeon. If you watch that video, they're good guys. You know, the healer's doing good DPS. I'm doing all right too, but BM Hunter's doing a lot, and really that's what you're seeing. You're going to see like a lot of you're going to see a lot of this in dungeons nowadays. A couple real big outliers really skewing the dungeon times. So that's kind of what I'm used to. Anyway, grip them all together. Somebody's dead. What a surprise. There's a named mob here yet again. Doesn't seem to be doing anything specific. I'm not really sure. It doesn't seem to... It's not really doing anything that's different than the other mobs. But we are going to see a unique mechanic coming up here. And one way or the other, I just think, you know, the one thing you have to note here is that this trash has a lot of stuff going on. A lot of mechanics, a lot of trash, a lot of mobs themselves. Those are the initiates there. Are they non-elites? I don't know. They have very little health one way or the other. And there's a lot of them throughout the dungeon. We're going to see a lot coming up. It's actually pretty cool. It does something to add to the theme of the dungeon. Oh, there's one of those runes on the ground. Interesting. I didn't pay attention to that, unfortunately. I missed that entirely, both when we were doing it and just now as well. Huh. Well, anyway, there's some runes. The next boss kind of has kind of like a rune pattern that you have to deal with, and you're going to see it on this trash in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab everything together. Once again, a bunch of initiates. And then there's going to be a couple name mobs. These like kind of like bulky Colterian looking mobs. They're going to actually do this thing that's going to turn them yellow. It's like this big yellow aura around them. And it's going to make them move really, really slow, but hit really, really hard. So you'll probably want to kite them. Now, immediately I'm seeing the ring on the ground. It's a 75% reduction as I hovered over it there. So both for the mobs and you. And this is another one of those things that I think Blizzard's going to start doing a lot more. The Kiss or Curse, as Mr. Hazakostas described it back on the last Q&A. So yeah, it's not necessarily a Mythic Plus mechanic, but it is similar. You know, you could use it to your own benefit, or you could be an idiot and leave the mobs in it, and your group's gonna leave in the middle of a Mythic Plus because 17 mobs are all in an ability that makes them take very, very little damage. But yeah, see the big yellow guy there? He's hitting pretty hard. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I don't know. I should move them, and I do. There we go. Grip them. Very nice. And then we can stand in it ourselves. But yeah, it's pretty cool. It actually, you know, if you do it right, if you're a Blood Death Knight, and you could grip the mobs out of it and then move right back into it, you've basically just given yourself the best damage buff that has ever existed. But it doesn't really change much about how I approach the dungeon. The pack itself is still very easy, even without that. So, I don't know. Now, kind of interesting, the whole dungeon is actually outdoors except for some of these rooms. It kind of comes into play later. Well, I'm actually going to cut that part out. But anyway, the run back, at least currently, is all the way at the very beginning. But you can mount up, minus that room there. You're going to get dismounted when you get on that. So that might come into play. I don't know. There's the big guys doing the golden. They have like a chain over their head for some reason. They move very, very slow. Big water elemental guy. It's like an air elemental or something. He's casting this. I'm trying to get a picture, trying to get a screenshot for the thumbnail for some reason in the middle of the video. But yeah, he's casting this tornado. We could stun this or whatever, grip to prevent it. That's a very good thing as a Blood Death Knight. This is a mechanic that definitely wants to be interrupted. Can't be interrupted properly, so you got to stun it or grip it to stop that from happening, which I think I will do here shortly. I don't know. It's doing a lot of damage, though, for sure. And it's adding up over time, you know. But coming up here, you're going to see very, very high-density mobs. It's a little daunting when you walk into it the first time. You think, oh, boy, we got a lot of mobs here. But realistically, it's all those initiates, like I said. There's a screenshot, by the way. Hey there, guys. It's screenshots, and there we go. That's good. Anyway, glad I'm wasting time with that. But, yeah, so here you go. Tons of mobs around here, but I immediately identify that there are all these initiate-type mobs, so we're just going to grab them all. No reason to wait, really. They don't do anything. But I bet they're going to bolster. You know what I'm saying? I bet these initiates are going to turn into freaking centurions after these bolsters, you know? I mean, you can't really avoid pulling them either. They're just kind of all hung out here. So we did pull one extra pack, but realistically, you're not going to be able to just avoid all of those mobs. So, and they have such little health that, you know, you're going to pull them. If you pulled exactly like I did with bolstering, you're going to pull all of them. They're going to just get slaughtered. And then these guys with the giant amount of health, like the yellow mobs with the chain, they're gonna do that ability, and they're just gonna swing in one shot. You're gonna owe them money. That's how bad. You're gonna delete your own account with that fucking pull right there. So I don't know. It's very interesting. I'm not sure where they're going with it, but anyway, here's the next boss. Again, more initiates in front of the boss. We're just gonna grab it all, make sure nothing ends up happening during the middle of the encounter. But as you see, they each have one of the runes down on the ground already. The guy on the left does the protection rune, and I actually don't know what the wind rune is, but it looks quite cool. And another boss that's very simple, an interruptible mechanic. They basically do one mechanic each, and just on normal just feels kind of underwhelming. It doesn't really feel like there's much going on here, but once again, normal, we can't really judge. This is about Mythic Plus, but realistically, we're not learning anything about the bosses. So hopefully, I'm really hoping that once the beta comes, we'll be able to do them all on Heroic, because at least on Heroic, I assume it'll be a little bit harder, a little bit more scaled properly, so we could actually do these dungeons and learn things, because I'm not learning anything. I'm almost never even taking damage, which is kind of funny, but I don't know. I do like these cleave fights. I like these fights that have two bosses, especially. There's a lot of them this expansion, actually. A lot of bosses that have multiple, like two consistent targets. And it's kind of just like the Temple of Sethalos one. I don't really know why we would want to kill one over the other. I don't know if there's meant to be a benefit to that. And there's the shell on the ground again, the reduction. One of them is putting up some kind of thing that's making us take more nature damage, but we're not fighting an enhancement shaman, so I don't really care about nature damage, or a bombkin or something like that. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. It's difficult because I don't have my weak ores. I don't know what kind of damage we're taking. I don't know if there's a default way to look at that, by the way, but I have a weak ore on live. I'm sure you guys have seen it. That shows me the damage profile of the mob. What's it doing to us? And without it, I just don't know what I need to AMS. It's kind of funny. I've gotten really dependent on weak ores, and I guess that's just how it is. So I don't know. Maybe that will work with Battle for Azeroth, but if not, I have a feeling some pretty high profile add-on changes happened. They basically changed the way a couple things are like distributed throughout the I don't know much about this, so don't quote me on this, but they changed like a very important way to describe mobs. I think is how it works. Like the name of the mob or something, like the classification of the mob or whatever you're fighting is now in a different place. So it's basically destroyed any add-on that is going to affect that type of thing. And that's what was going on with Details the other day. It was struggling to figure out what type of mobs we were fighting and what type of dungeon we were in. I guess it's probably the same thing for all content, all dungeons, world zones, etc. Maybe even things like ore, I don't know. But anyway, there's these tentacles that spawn on this trash. We're going to see this again in a bit. They stack a damage taken or something like that. They make you take more damage. So obviously you're going to want to kill them. I'd imagine, again, bolstering a lot of stuff that you could accidentally kill. Maybe necrotic. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do with the fixes. So it's kind of stupid to sit here and talk about all the fixes. We talked about this a bit on stream today, and people are like, oh, yeah, I think they're not going to get rid of the old. I don't think they're going to get rid of old affixes. They're just going to add new affixes. And I'm not convinced that's the case. But anyway, this trash is quite interesting. It makes it look like it's AoE, like, something you want to AoE, but they put this shield on themselves. They do a stun there, which you want to avoid, obviously, if you can, which is very difficult to avoid when you have 6 of them. They also put a stacking health debuff on me. As you see, it does, I think it's 10% health per application. And towards the end, I actually die. I want to look at why I died. I'm not really sure. But anyway, we're getting stunned. People taking a lot of damage. Getting a bit stressful here. I make the mistake of pulling more things. I'm used to not having any trouble. Like, I am so survival oriented in the other dungeons. It's like nothing could take me out with this 15% leech. But this dungeon's like a different game. It's like the trash actually has stuff happening. Look at that, spawning tentacles back there. I guess what probably happened was we probably crossed over that threshold and then the tentacles spawned, and maybe that's what that was meant to happen. I don't know. How many stacks of this do I have? Because right now I'm pretty sure I'm about to get one shot. I'm not actually sure what's going on here and why. Yeah, I just got one shot, yeah. So I think I couldn't see it. I think I had like a couple, like I think it said like 5 or something stacks. I can't see when I record the audio, but I think I had a couple stacks of that, and I just had such little health that even the smallest amount of damage one-shot me. Because I'm looking at the log. I was looking at the log there and was like, I got hit for like 5k max and I died. So I don't know. Anyway, this area is kind of interesting. There's a bunch of tentacles coming up. So this is a nice, yeah, if you guys are really into hentai or, that type of animated gratification, then this is a good place for you. Definitely old god feel one way or the other. Very, like I said, a lot of dark tones in this expansion. This is really going to be a dark expansion, I think. I saw somebody on the forums kind of lamenting the fact that, you know, Sylvanas and other Horde races are using chemical weapons, which is like kind of ironic. I don't know. I don't really want to get into that in a video, but I don't know. I just think it's probably time to avoid that type of thing. Like, don't worry about that. But it's hard to avoid it when... Oh, here we go. Queen Azshara. Fuck all what I was talking about. Queen Azshara in the house, man. So there you go. It's going to be really weird to finally fight her. But as you see, Cop, my good buddy Cop, if you're watching this, what's up, man? Shout out to this. He's been saying this for a long time. He thinks Queen Azshara is actually going to be an old god. Instead of, you know, like whatever, I don't know much about the lore. You guys will have to fill me in on this, but whatever, you know, whatever happened with her and demons and all this, people think, well, Cop thinks that, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but from what I could tell from him, he says that he thinks she's in some way heavily affiliated with the old gods. So to me, it makes me think that she is the one who had some dealing with the demons in the past, and perhaps she was always in some league with the old gods. I don't know. It's very interesting. So anyway, we wipe on this fight, and it's quite ironic that we do, because the reason we do is because people have absolutely no idea what's going on. So basically what's going on here is a player gets so there's these purple orbs that spawn, one per person. So if you're soloing, this is actually probably a lot easier. Actually, you'll get mind controlled, so you can't solo it. I just realized that you won't be able to solo this dungeon. But anyway, the person, one person gets mind controlled, and then these purple orbs spawn. Okay, so what you're supposed to do is you're immune to stun. So the person who's mind controlled runs around and gets all the orbs. At the same time, we should be killing that person, because if we don't do enough damage by the time that cast there gets off, then they die. And really, we're not killing the person. We're killing the thing on their face. And we don't do that twice in a row, so that person dies. So Paladin, I don't even know how the Paladin died so quickly, but I mean, the boss is it's almost dead, you know what I mean? So if we just did this mechanic right a single time, it would be very easy. But I did want to show this because this is the first time I wiped on a dungeon boss on the Battle for Azeroth Alpha, I think probably ever. And we have a teachable moment here, a moment that you could actually learn from. Look at the comments. Like, people are really confused with what's happening. I don't know. Yeah, so it's not very, I guess it's kind of counterintuitive. I don't know, but yeah, you just have to mind control. I mean, the person's gonna get mind controlled, and you just have to kill the thing that's mind controlling them. It's not very difficult. And here the return the brakes off. Like, look at this. We kill this boss so goddamn quick, it's almost embarrassing to the game. And I can't, like I said, I can't help but think people are just doing way too much damage. Look how much damage the Discipline Priest is doing, though. Oh, that's kind of scary. This Paladin is the worst. He's the worst one in the group for sure. But I don't know. I'm doing all right. Like, I feel like less than 2K at this point. I feel like I've gotten nerfed. But anyway, Discipline Priest doing absolutely nuts numbers. I don't know. It's just really interesting. I think I might try Holy Paladin again, because Discipline is doing so much, and Holy Paladin got a lot of changes. I think they're going to do well. I think, you know, at least right now, I don't know what's going on with this melee stuff. This is the thing that I'm not sure about. These melee, the fact that melee, like auto attacks, I mean, not necessarily melee, like with perspective to your position. Melee auto attacks do so much damage, it's unbelievable. They do like more damage than every one of your spells. And I don't know if that's intended or not. It's been like that since I got into the alpha. But the powers that be continue to say, oh, that we haven't done any tuning yet. It's like, well, surely you wouldn't leave it like this if it wasn't intended, right? I mean, you did do balancing. You did do design, right? But anyway, you have to swim through. Now you jump in that pit there. It takes us to a really little interesting area here. This is actually really cool. This type of area always reminds me of Dragon Ball. Remember the Pirate Cave? That was a really cool episode. I like that. That's General Blue Saga. Long time ago. But anyway, yeah, so you just want to avoid these little jellyfish, and then you're just going to swim out the other side. Down there's a little ominous looking dark area. But yeah, if you look at the map, it's going to show you the route. It's kind of funny. I assume that's just some kind of placeholder thing. But anyway, there's going to be these eels. They're going to attack you with tentacles. They're going to slap you around like that, like an eel might. I don't know. Yeah, nothing really going on here. But I do want to talk about this next part, because this is really interesting. From now on, we have some very interesting stuff to talk about. The eels, obviously, whatever, just kill them. I think they're stacking something. It probably is like the more stacks you have, the better you are at Blood Death Knight. Something like that. I imagine that's what it is. That's usually how it goes. So we're going to fight this next mob here. This is like a big named mob, whatever. Or it's not really a named mob, but It's an important mob, and I'm pretty sure it has something to do with the encounter. Now, I've only seen it from my perspective, but from what I can tell, this encounter is very similar to the Old Kingdom encounter. If you guys remember, the final boss of Old Kingdom, or Ankh-Jarrah, however you say it, in Wrath. So that mob, whatever we just killed, is fine. But these mobs are very interesting. They're going to heal to full if they get their cast off, okay? Now, seems pretty obvious. You're just going to interrupt it, right? But I have a feeling that maybe on Mythic Plus they won't be interruptible. And that kind of reminds me of Grim Batol. If you remember Grim Batol, again, an old god influence there. I don't really know what was going on much in Kata, but it's very similar. You know, those mobs are going to heal very, very, very... they're going to full heal no matter what if they get that cast off. So anyway, this is basically the same boss from whatever, Ankh-Jarrah or Ankh-Jarrah or however the hell you say it. And it's fine. I like that. I quite like that because that fight was actually pretty unique. And it's been long enough that it doesn't feel like it's, recycled. But, he puts this purple puddle down, which I can only believe is going to impact the rest of the encounter in some way. And then he's going to do this mechanic. And now there's going to be a big guy who I'm going to have to kill. He has like a debuff on him. It says something like powerful attacks but move slow. So, I mean, I guess I could kite it, but I'm a Blood Death Knight, so I'm not going to do that. I'm not a child, you know what I mean? I'm not going to run away from a single mob. But I guess you could if you wanted to. Like if you were a child or playing like a really weak tank, like a Prot Warrior, like a really inferior tank who has no good spells. I would check out a Prot Warrior for that. Anyway, then this mob is here. So I assume what's happened was I did my job by killing the big guy because I'm a pro. And now I'm going to go help the noobs finish that up. And now he's channeling this ability, which if... I cared to help the group, I would interrupt, but I can't be asked. I'm just looking at it. So you want to interrupt it. Obviously, it's a massive shield. But, yeah, it's basically the same fight. Now here we go again. He's going to put this down. And this is, this is normal. And, oh, the other one went away. Huh. I was about to say something that doesn't end up being true. I was going to say that this room is going to fill up with those things pretty quickly on Mythic Plus if you're doing it. Because, it's taking us a while to kill this boss. And, with those interludes, it's going to be a long fight. So I thought maybe that like big purple circle was going to really complicate things. Let's see, he's doing it again. Oh, now there's two. They must like last a period of time. I would recommend that Blizzard took that out and leave it like that. Leave it up permanently. Really is going to make Mythic Plus a lot more interesting. But anyway, that's it. Now Queen Azshara is going to say some stuff. I'm going to not even care about it and leave the dungeon. So anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching. Really like this dungeon. Trash is very unique, very difficult, and not necessarily difficult, but it's really going to slow you down. But anyway, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in the next one.